Pick Up the Mic and Prove Me Wrong were the themes of a tour stopped by the Turning Point USA here on campus this week. Coming up, we'll let you know who showed up to the debate, students in memory of Charlie Kirk.
The campus calendar has been busy this week, especially for one TTU program that's been hosting performances almost every night since the beginning of the month. Find out how dozens of Red Raiders are showing off their musical skills before spring break.
Most Red Raider athletes may not be getting time to take off for spring break, but the sacrifice is worth it, especially if it means getting the chance to compete for a national title. MCTV's Logan Lacy has the detail on how several Texas Tech teams are starting the holiday and how you can keep up with the action no matter where you go in sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Pedro Gonzalez.
And I'm Kai Davis. Last September, news broke that political activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at a public event in Utah.
Kirk was on a college campus speaking and debating with students at the time of his death. And earlier this week, the spirit of Kirk's interactive style was recreated during an event here at Texas Tech. The Texas Tech Turning Point USA chapter hosted a stop by the organization's Pick Up the Mic initiative on Monday. Alex Stein, a comedian and host of After Hours with Alex Stein on YouTube, debated with students during a Prove Me Wrong event in the free speech area outside the sub. Anyone was invited to come up, grab a microphone, and ask Stein a question or debate with him on a topic. The concept mirrors similar events hosted by Kirk before his death, when Kirk would sit underneath a tent and field questions from college students. Turning Point USA decided to honor Kirk's legacy by creating the Pick Up the Mic tour, which is currently making stops across the country. The tour features more than 15 speakers appearing at college campuses to engage with students. Stein continued to prove me wrong until 4 p.m. on Monday afternoon. Later that night, he headed inside the sub for a comedy show and Q&A session in the Escondido Theater, which was also streamed online during his after-hours show.
Many students are counting down the hours until they can leave campus and start their spring break. But in the meantime, Red Raiders have had a full week of options to help fill their schedule before leaving town. One way students could kill some time was to make a stop by the Classical and Modern Language and Literatures Building. CMLL's Arabic language program set up a special display earlier this week to showcase the creativity of students. The Arabic calligraphy showcase featured more than a dozen hand-drawn art pieces, along with woodwork, cloth items, and even one example made out of Legos. According to the CMLL's Facebook page, the purpose of the showcase was for the Red Raider community to experience the elegance of Arabic while displaying the artistic abilities of students in the program. The Arabic calligraphy showcase was on display both Monday and Tuesday afternoon from 1 to 5 p.m. If you missed this week's showcase but would like to learn more about the Arabic language offerings here at Texas Tech, including an optional minor, you can visit cmll.ttu.edu/Arabic.
One of the departments that's been keeping the event schedule full this month is the School of Music. In the last 2 weeks, 8 different concerts and recitals have taken stage, including the Texas Tech Symphonic Band. The concert was held last Thursday in the Hem Lee Recital Hall, which is the School of Music's primary campus performance space. The band, composed of more than 50 members, showed off their musical skills through a series of pieces with varying styles of music. Last week's selections featured pieces from different composers, including John Mackey, Florence Price, Gustav Holst, and Michael Mower. The sounds of the instruments, ranging from trumpets to piano and percussion, filled the room as the group performed the compositions from around the world.
First 2 pieces were made by American composers, and so it's just like a celebration of like American composition. And also for the second half, we move over, like Dr. Allen said, over the pond to Great Britain and all the area and different composers from that nature.
The last half of the concert was also featured guest piccolo performer and professor of flute, Lisa Garner Santa. She says that music allowed her to create special connections that have influenced her life, especially as an educator.
For me, music has been such a medium for self-exploration, for learning about myself, for learning about life, and for learning how to connect with others. My primary relationships around that have been as teacher to student, and I've learned so much from my students.
Last week's Symphonic Band concert started at 7:30 p.m. and ran for over an hour, ending with a standing ovation from the audience. Thursday's performance was the first of 2 concerts featuring the group. This spring, the band will be back on the Hem Lee Recital Hall stage at the end of April. If you would like to check out the list of performance on the School of Music's calendar for the remainder of the spring, visit music.ttu.edu and click on News and Events tab near the top of the page.
The South Plains area has been experiencing a variety of weather conditions from this week from sunshine to dust storms and even some isolated showers. But one thing that has been mostly consistent is the temperatures.
It's still been warmer than normal for most of the week, but that could be changing soon for what we can expect for the first weekend of spring break weather. Specialist Aiden Wasson has details on what's ahead in today's MCTV forecast. Aiden?
Thank you guys, and it certainly has been warm. However, today is a little bit cooler than what we have been experiencing. Looking at the tower cam behind me, we have some pretty blue skies, a little bit of a breeze, but it is still a pretty nice day, though cooler than what we have been experiencing, and it is still very dry. We had a chance at some rain on Tuesday, however, that didn't pan out, and now because of that, our severe drought across the South Plains has increased, encompassing nearly 75% of the South Plains region. And as well as this dryness, there's also some wind coming in this afternoon at around 4:30 p.m. With the northern region of the South Plains getting up to 30-mile-per-hour gusts. And with this wind and the dryness, that means we have a red flag warning going in tonight, and this will last until about 8 p.m. and it will be mainly the northern region of the South Plains, but this wind and the dryness is affecting all of the South Plains. So just keep in mind that wildfires are a risk, and with that wind, wildfires can spread really quickly. So just make sure to be safe out there. But after today, spring break is happening really soon, and I know I'm excited about that. And if you're traveling for spring break, you have some pretty nice weather on your hands until about Sunday. At around 1:30 p.m. some wind will be coming in to the region, as well as a storm out to East Texas. So if you're traveling for spring break, especially on Sunday, just make sure to keep an eye out for this weather. It could impact things with flight delays, and it can certainly affect you on the roads as well. But after Sunday, this weather will leave our region, and we will have a pretty nice start to our spring break. And going into forecast lows for tonight in the South Plains, we are actually a little bit warmer than what we have been experiencing. This morning, some places of the South Plains were reaching 32 degrees, and some places were just a little bit above that. But now we're sitting at around those mid-40s to even 50 here in Seminole. And then our highs tomorrow are warmer than today for sure, with places like Friona at 78 degrees and places like Snyder at 84 degrees, encompassing mainly the South Plains at around those high 70s to those mid 80s. Looking here in Lubbock for tonight, 48 degrees tonight, and then tomorrow in Lubbock we have a very, very nice day. 81 degrees, sunny, and a little bit of a breeze, but nothing too crazy. It is a really nice day here in Lubbock tomorrow. And this will this warm trend will increase into Saturday with 89 degrees on Saturday. A pretty warm day if you ask me. And then Sunday will actually cool down a bit, because especially with these winds on Sunday, we're expecting a cold front to move in, and we'll hit around those 64-degree temperatures, and that will keep going down into Sunday night. 22 degrees for our low Sunday night. Those are some of the coldest temperatures we have seen since early February. And then Monday will keep getting a little bit colder, sitting at 54 degrees. And then Tuesday through Thursday, we'll experiencing a warm trend going from the mid 70s to reaching even those 90s. Monday night for those lows, 33 degrees. But besides that 33-degree mark, we're still sitting at around those mid to high 40s. But guys, take a look at this with me. Thursday, that 92-degree mark, that would be our first 90-degree day this whole entire year. And that would be pretty unseasonably warm. So if you're staying here in Lubbock for your spring break, expect to have a pretty warm end to your spring break, especially if this little warm trend from Tuesday to Thursday increases into Friday. You will definitely have a pretty warm end to your spring break, so maybe go out there and tan. I'm Aiden Wasson with weather. Back to you.
Thanks, Aiden. Spring break officially starts tomorrow night, but not everyone will be enjoying the time off.
Texas Tech spring athletes will stay busy over the next week, especially two teams who are preparing for a chance at a national title. MCTV's Logan Lacy has details on those teams and a look at the rest of the weekend. Schedule and sports. Logan?
Thank you, Kai and Pedro. Even though spring break is right around the corner, Texas Tech Athletics has many matchups to keep up with as both basketball teams continue postseason play and baseball and softball host some conference opponents. Let's start with women's basketball. The Lady Raiders didn't play this week after losing to Kansas State in the Big 12 tournament last Thursday, but they still got some recognition on the AP poll, coming in at number 25. This is the 11th time this season that they have been in the AP poll, and the first time since the 2004-2005 season that Texas Tech women's basketball finished the regular season as a top 25 team. The Lady Raiders continue their season next week in the NCAA tournament, with the date and time for their first round matchup to be announced this Sunday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Texas Tech men's basketball started their Big 12 tournament run today in the quarterfinals versus the Iowa State Cyclones, but could they weather the storm? Tech got out to a fast start, taking an 11-point lead, but Iowa State came back quick as both teams fought hard, with the Cyclones taking a 3-point lead into halftime. The second half was a completely different story though, as the Red Raiders could not get anything to fall, while Iowa State just couldn't miss, with the Cyclones winning 75-53. Texas Tech men's basketball will now continue postseason play in the NCAA tournament next week. Their first game's date and time will be announced with the rest of the bracket on Sunday, March 15th at 5 p.m. on CBS. Texas Tech softball continues to be shown love on the national stage as they get ready to play in one of their biggest home series of the season. The Red Raiders are coming off of a series sweep against the University of Houston and are still ranked highly across the 4 major softball polls. D1 Softball and Softball America both have the Red Raiders as the number 3 team in the country, while the NFCA and USA Softball have them at number 2. Najee Kennedy is also getting recognition by winning Big 12 Pitcher of the Week for 2 weeks in a row. Texas Tech Softball will host the 12th-ranked Arizona Wildcats for 3 games this weekend. Friday's game will be at 6 p.m., Saturday's start is scheduled for 2 p.m., and first pitch for Sunday's game will be at noon. If you can't make it to Rocky Johnson Field, all games will be streaming live on ESPN+. Texas Tech baseball followed up a weekend where they scored 50 runs with a short 2-game series versus number 24 UTSA. The first game started out rough for the Red Raiders as UTSA took a 9-2 lead into the middle of the 6th, but Tech turned it around, scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the inning, bringing the Roadrunners' lead down to 2. The Red Raiders then threw 3 shutout innings, with it all coming down to the bottom of the 9th. Jesse Rusnick would come to the plate as the go-ahead run with 2 outs, but eventually struck out as Texas Tech would lose Game 1 9-8. The second game was very similar at the start, with UTSA leading 4-1, but Texas Tech was not ready to get swept. The team hit 3 home runs in the bottom of the 6th and held on to get their first win versus a top 25 team this season with a final score of 10-5. Texas Tech baseball will now turn their attention towards Kansas as the Jayhawks come to town. First pitch on Friday is at 6:30, Saturday's game starts at 2 p.m., and Sunday's matchup is scheduled for 1 p.m. All 3 games will also be on ESPN+. That's all for Texas Tech Athletics. Now back to Pedro and Kai.
Thanks, Logan. If you're packed and ready to go for spring break and you happen to be heading home for the holiday, you might want to leave a little extra space in your luggage for the return trip.
That extra space should come in handy, especially if you want to help out the local community. All this month, the Student Activities Board is hosting a book donation drive. SAB is asking Red Raiders to look through their bookcase and see if they have any new or gently used volumes they would like to donate. You can donate almost any book, but SAB is specifically looking for kids' books, picture books, and chapter books. If you do come across some possible donations while you're at home, you can bring those back and drop them off in the sub after the break. Earlier this month, SAB set up donation bins across from the Red Raider Depot campus store by the ATM machines inside the east entrance. The donation drive continues until Tuesday, March 31st, and after that, the donations will be used to stock the Little Free Library in Leftwich Park.
So, Kai, do you have any big plans for spring break?
Sleep, sleep, and some more sleep. What about you, Pedro?
I'll be heading to South Padre Island for the spring break. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.